Hi, I'm Bob Ford, Artistic Director of TheatreSquared. Welcome to the spoiler alert for the Royale. I'm sitting here with Dexter Singleton, who is our guest director for the project, also the Artistic Director of Collective Consciousness Theater in New Haven. Welcome, Dexter. We're here to talk about this show. Maybe give a couple things away.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, but want to give you an idea of what this story is about.
The Royale, written by Marco Ramirez, is a gorgeous play that's only a few years old. It's previously had its premiere at Lincoln Center and played in Chicago and several other cities, and now it's becoming this play that a lot of people have caught on to, and it's playing all over the country now. Gorgeous play that is inspired, loosely inspired in a lot of ways, by Jack Johnson, who was the first black heavyweight champion of the world in the early 1900s. And very much like the story of Jack Johnson, for those of you who know it, our play, though, follows a guy named Jay Jackson, Jay the Sport Jackson, who is trying to achieve the same things that Jack Johnson was trying to achieve in those early 1900s. He's a fighter who is really talented, really skilled, very charismatic, and wants to be the first black heavyweight champion of the world. And so when we pick up in the play from scene one, from the beginning of the play, he is trying to pursue that. He starts off in the very first scene fighting a guy who is having his very first professional fight, a guy that they call Fish. Fresh Fish, right? Brand new, right? Very first fight. Comes right from the Naval Yards, has been practicing a little bit and training, and he gets thrown right in the ring with one of the best that there is in Jay the Sport Jackson. They have their first fight, and in typical Jay Jackson fashion, he is very flamboyant during the fight. He looks at it just an exhibition, as if he's gonna beat this guy, Fresh Fish, with no problem, and he does beat him. But in the process, he also embarrasses Fish. And so afterwards, Fish meets him in his locker room and says, "Hey man, you embarrassed me. What's up with that?" And Jay says, "Surprise, I also went as his trainer, Jay's trainer, and he says, you were so great in that fight, we want you to be a part of our team and to be Jay's sparring partner." Also, while all of this is going on, because it's the early 1900s and this is a play that also touches on a lot of race, class, and cultural issues of the time period as well. And as all of us should know, that it was extremely difficult for Jack Johnson at the time to be a champion and to get on that road and to get those opportunities, because as a black man in the early 1900s, the world just wasn't trying to do that for him. And so very much in the same way of Jay, he's finding some obstacles because of his race, because he's such a skilled boxer who can pretty much beat anybody. A lot of those doors early on are closed to him. So he is with, also in that first scene, his trainer, his promoter, Max. And his promoter, Max, he wants him to get him the fights and is pressing him. He and Witten are pressing Max, and Max is saying, "Well, I don't know if I can do it," because Jay wants a fight with the heavyweight champion of the world, who at the time is Bixby. This guy Bixby, and Bixby is very much like the story of Jack Johnson, who wants to fight the champion, but the champion was retired at the time, and his name is Jim Jeffries. And so, like Jim Jeffries, Bixby is the champion, and he retires as heavyweight champion, as this white heavyweight champion, and Jay wants to draw him out of retirement so that he can fight him and take his claim to being the best boxer in the world. But Max says, "I don't know. I don't think they're gonna wanna fight you." And so all this is going on at the same time. Fish joins his team, and they start training, and they start sparring, and they start trying to get Bixby to fight them. And so along the way, they start to have exhibitions in different cities to promote themselves, show how great they are, in hopes that they can draw Bixby out of retirement to come and fight them for what would be the fight of the century, the biggest fight that the world has ever seen between the greatest white champion and the greatest black champion who has been uncrowned at this point. And so this story follows Jay Jackson and his journey to that crown.
That's probably the first pretty obvious spoiler, which is the fight does end up happening. They end up, as with Jack Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely. But along the way, and what I love about this play is it also touches on, as a black athlete who has gained a lot of popularity, great skill, it also touches on the social aspects of the time period. So at the time when Jack Johnson was fighting, he'd win in these cities, he'd beat these white boxers, and then what would happen in a lot of these cities is that there would be often race riots, lynchings, and things of that nature where black people and black communities would really suffer a lot of times from him winning in these fights. And so very much like Jay is at the time is in pursuit of his what he wants in his life, and he at some point along the play is visited by his sister Nina, who at this point, as we sort of fast forward through the play, Jay Johnson has done press conferences and he has prepared these exhibitions, and we fast forward through the play, and he is sitting in the locker room. Bixby has agreed to fight him, but Bixby has agreed to fight him only if Jay gives him 90% of the purse. So he basically wants all of the money to fight Jay. And Max surprisingly thinks that Jay is not going to agree to it, but Jay does just that because he says to Max and to Wynton and to Fish, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than the money. I want the opportunity, and I'm already, even though I'm champion and one of the best in the world, or wanting to be champion and one of the best in the world. He also knows that because he's a black man who was fighting in the early 1900s, that he is also considered to be the laughing stock amongst other people, right, in the boxing community. And so he agrees. He agrees to take 10%. He gives Bixby 90%. We're in the locker room at this point, and on the just before the biggest fight of the century, he's surprised, is visited by his sister Nina, who he's not seen in several years. And Nina says to him, "What you're doing, you're winning, you're doing a great job, but it is affecting your family. Your nephews have received, and our family have received death threats. Your nephews are having to fight at school to defend themselves because people know that they're related to you. And so there's all of these things that happen to the world because Jay is pursuing what he wants to be. And for Jay, it's not just about being champion and those personal accolades, but we learn also in that scene with Nina that it's also about their relationship. And it's about the fact that in the early 1900s, they didn't see heroes that looked like Jay. They didn't see posters of women that looked like Nina, right? At this point, the images that they were seeing that were successful were just images of white men and women. And Jay does this because he wants to see a black man and a black woman be on the front pages of the paper, very much like Jack Johnson wanted at that time, so that black people, black communities could see diversity on those pages, so that they can see someone that looks like them, right? As they, like everyone, pursues their own individual goals and dreams. Jay is torn at this point because Nina basically comes in and says, "I want you to lose the fight." And he says, "Lose the fight? I've been fighting all these years, pursuing my dreams and goals, wanting all this for myself, wanting all this for you, wanting all this for my community. And you want me to just blow the fight?" Yeah, she wants him to blow the fight. And so now he's got this extra weight on him. Now, for the first time in his career, he feels the burden of his own success, and that if he wins this fight, what it might do, that it may eventually get, that it may get people killed, may get people hurt, may get his own family injured, his own sister. But then Winton comes into the locker room, and Winton, like in a lot of plays, brings us back into this story about the Royale and what was the original Battle Royale, title of our play, which in a lot of plays, at some point, the playwright says, here, this is the title of the play, and it's going to come through a monologue or a scene, and this is why this play is called this. And he tells them this story about the Royale and how he went as a fighter of the past, all the things that he had to go through to be able to get Jay to this point. And so this play very much is about the past into the present, and then Fish, the newest, youngest guy, the sparring partner, is also the future. And so he inspires Jay through telling this story, and Jay says, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna fight and I'm gonna do it. And in the very last scene, we get to the big fight, the big battle, and he fights Bixby and he wins.
True
And
to
becomes,
history.
right, true to history, and becomes the first black heavyweight champion of the world. And it's a play that uses great stylized movement, that it is a play about boxing, but there is never a punch thrown in this play. It's all done through choreography, stylized movement, and other great creative things, rhythm, and you're gonna see a super talented cast do all those things, an athletic cast, and deliver a really electric, powerful, energetic, and it's one of those plays that is like nothing you've ever seen. People think they're gonna see one thing, and they come in and they go, oh my God, this is nothing like I thought a boxing play would be, that really pulls at your heart. So this is the part where we really get to the real spoiler.
And I would say turn off your, hit stop or whatever at this moment, because the final moment of this play is amazing. It's an incredible combination of triumph, but then we also get to see this playwright, Marco Ramirez, is amazing. The way he ties in the cost of that victory
Yes. So the consequences of him winning this fight is that Fish, his sparring partner, the future of boxing, decides, because the fight is oversold, he decides to give up his seat to his grandfather, and he wants his grandfather to be able to, in his lifetime, see the crowning of the first black heavyweight champion. So he decides that he's going to go to this bar in town, Elmore's, to watch to listen to the fight, right, on the radio. This is the early 1900s, and he goes to Elmore's, and right at the conclusion of this fight, as this white man sees that Jay Jackson is going to be crowned champion, he walks out of his house, walks down to this bar, that's a black bar, and sees Fish sitting at the bar, listening to this fight as Jay is crowned champion, and overwhelmed with emotion and excitement because his friend has just won, and this man does not like it, and he takes a knife and he stabs Fish and kills him. So Fish becomes a sacrifice for Jay, and somebody that's really close to him and has become a good friend over these months of training. But even with that, even though Fish is killed, this play also does end with a lot of hope, a lot of determination, and has a great message for everyone to say that if you want to achieve your dreams, keep fighting for them, keep battling, stay in the ring, even if you get knocked down, keep going forward, and then there's going to be a lot of obstacles in your way, some that might seem too difficult to get over, but in the end, if we all keep fighting, we all have a shot to be champion.
Dexter, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks for watching. Come see the show.
Yeah, come
Thanks.
see it.